In this video, we're going to practice how to use the Mishnah Gemara Bura platform to help us better understand the Mishnah. So we're going to do this in 3 steps. Step number 1 is once we already have the Mishnah displayed on our surface in our working area, we're going to go ahead and divide it. The way we divide it is we start reading Eze Aveda and we stop here because that is the question of the Mishnah, and Matzah already begins the first case. In order to divide it, we click on this button here and we divide. Suppose that we made a mistake and we don't want to have this division. We click on the mistake and we X out, we undo the division. But again, we're going to click here to divide it because that is correct. Matzah is the next part of the Mishnah. Going further, Matzah Hamor, that's one example, and we stop here and divide. O para ro'im baderech, and we're going to stop here because ein zu aveda is already the din. That's telling us that it's not considered an aveda. Therefore, we stop at the end of O para ro'im baderech and we divide. Ein zu aveda, and we stop because that is the din. And chamor vekelav is another example. That's another case. So we divide there. Chamor vekelav afuchin, stop because para ratza is another example, another case. So we divide. Para ratza ben akramim, a cow running in the vineyard, that is a case. Arezu aveda is the din, so therefore we divide. Arezu aveda is the end of the din. Ichzira is the beginning of the next case. Ichzira ubarcha, if the animal was returned and it escaped. Ichzira ubarcha, he returned it and it escaped again. Afilu arba v'chamisha pe'amim, even if he did it 4 or 5 times. And we stop here because Chayav le'achzira is the din. So we stop at the end of the case. Chayav le'achzira, he's obligated to return it, that's the din, and we stop and divide. Shenemar is already the reason. That introduces a pasuk. Shenemar ashef teshivem. The reason why you have to do it more than 1 time is because the pasuk says, you will surely return it, which means that you have to be willing to do the mitzvah in more than 1 time. And we stop there because ayabatel is already a next case. Ayabatel misela, and we stop there because lo yomar lo is already the din. It's telling us not to say to the owner, give me back what I lost. So we stop before lo and we divide. Lo yomar lo ten lisela, ela noten los charoke poil batel. The finder cannot say to the owner, give me back the amount of money that I lost. Instead, the owner gives him a salary as a worker who's doing an easier job. And we stop there because that's the end of the din. Im yesh is talking about a different case. Im yesh a beitin, if there is a beitin in his city. And we stop there because matne bifnei beitin is telling us that he should go to the court and make a condition. Matne bifnei beitin, he should go to the court and make a condition. If there is a beitin, he's able to go and say to the judges that he will only do the mitzvah if he gets paid back for what he's losing. So we stop in im because im is the next case. Im ein sham beitin bifnei itne. The case is if there is no court in the city where he can make the condition, that's the case. And the din is shelo kodem, his comes first, which means that the finder does not have to lose money to return somebody else's property. So we have completed stage number 1. We divided the Mishnah into the different sentences, and we see that some of them are cases, some of them are the din, and some of them are the actual reason. Once we divide the Mishnah, we're going to do another way to help us understand the Mishnah better. These buttons here are going to help us classify or categorize each statement. Identify the statement is a din or it's a case. One that we have not learned yet is the ch. The ch stands for koteret, or which is a title. So the opening question of the Mishnah serves as a title because that tells us what this Mishnah is going to talk about. The Mishnah is going to talk about what is considered an aveda. The next one, matzah hamor. Matzah hamor, we know of course that is a case, and that is the mem mikre. You don't have to memorize this. If you hover over the button, it tells you what it is. That's a case. O para ro'im baderech, that's another case. Then ein zu aveda, this is the din. That's the dalet. That's telling us that it's not considered an aveda. The next one, chamor vekelav afuchin, that's also a case. Para ratza ben akramim, a cow running in the vineyard, that's a case. and then Arezu Aveda, this is considered an Aveda, that is the din. It's telling us what to do. It's telling us that you have to return it. Ichzira Barcha, if you return it and it escaped, returned and it escaped even 4 or 5 times, that's a case. So therefore we classified with the mem, the mikre, and chayav le'achzira is a din. It's telling that you're obligated to return it even more than 1 time. Shenemar is a new component of the Mishnah, and that is a reason. A reason is the t. The tet stands for reason. Ayabat al misela is a case. Lo yomar lo, don't say to the owner, give me back what I lost. That's a din. He's not allowed to get back that money. Im yesham beidin is a case. If there is a court in town, then matne bifnei beidin, he makes a condition. That's a din. That's what the finder should do. Im ein sham beidin bifnei mi'itne, if there is no court where he can make the condition, that's also a case. And then finally the Mishnah says, if there is no court and he cannot recover his losses, shelo kodem, that's the din, that his money, his property is first. He doesn't have to lose money. So what we have done so far is we have divided the Mishnah into sentences, and we have labeled each step of the Mishnah in its proper category. If it's a title or a case or a din, or sometimes we find a reason like we did in this Mishnah. Now we're going to do another step that is very, very important, and with this we will finish. We're going to organize the information presented in the Mishnah to make it visually logical to us, so that when we look at the way it's organized, we're going to actually be able to understand what the Mishnah is saying. And what we're going to do now, if you look at this side of the screen where everything is boxed in colors and in boxes, you're going to see what begins to happen. So, Eizu Aveda is the title. Okay? What is considered an Aveda? So this case, we're now going to connect it. We're going to create connection between different parts of the Mishnah. The way to create a connection is you click on the sentence, you click on this button that connects, and then we click on the sentence where we want to connect it. So if you look what happened over here, basically we indented. We moved this sentence in a little bit to show that this sentence is connected to the title. If you look on the left side of the screen, you will see here's the title, and this sentence, you found a donkey, is connected to that. O para is also connected to that, because that's another example of what's related to that. The din is telling me the following. These 2 examples are not considered an Aveda. So we're going to click on the din, and we're going to connect it to this case, and also we're going to connect it to this case, because that's the din for both cases. If you look on the left side of the page, you will see that we have the title, then we have 2 cases, and it's telling me the din for both of those cases. You see how the din, Eizu Aveda, is connected to both of the examples. Let's go further. Hamor vekelav afuchin, we're going to connect that to the title, because the Mishnahs continue to explain to us what's considered an Aveda. We connect this other example of Paratzav and Akramim. We're going to connect it to the title, because again, this is an example of something that is considered an Aveda, and this is the din that applies to both of these cases. So we click on the din, we click on the connecting button, and then we connect it to Para, and we click one more time and connect it to the other din. Okay, so now let's look what we've done so far. Here's the title standing on this Eizu Aveda. What is considered an Aveda? These 2 are examples of when it is an Aveda, when it's not considered an Aveda. This is the din that applies to these 2 cases. These are 2 other cases that are also related to Eizu Aveda, what's considered an Aveda, and this is the din that applies to these 2 cases. If you look on the left side, here is our title, and we have 4 cases. 2 of them, the din is Eizu Aveda, but 2 of them, the din is Arezu Aveda. There are 2 examples of when the item is not considered an Aveda, which is the first thing the Mishnah does. And then the Mishnah tells us 2 examples of cases where the din is, it is considered an Aveda. Okay, so now we go to the next case. Igzira ubarcha, afilu arba v'chamisha pe'amim. Now the Mishnah is talking about a new case. The Mishnah says that if something is returned and it escapes, and it returned and it escapes again, even if it's more than one time, multiple times, the din is chayav leachzira. So this din, we're going to connect it to this case, because that's the din for this case. The din is that you still have to do it. Now, interesting, now we have the reason. A Mishnah does not always tell us the reason. Sometimes it does. In this Mishnah, we have the reason. So this is the reason why you're chayav leachzira. How come you have to return the item even though you returned it already once or twice? The reason is because the pasuk says asher teshivem. So we're going to connect the din. We're going to connect the reason to the din. Okay. So here is the case. Here is the din. The din is you're still required to return it, and the reason for this din is asher teshivem. You will surely return it. So again, by organizing this way, we're showing that the din is related to what? The din is connected to this din. This reason is not connected to this cases or dinim here. This din is specifically telling us why you are obligated to return it, even though you already returned it once. So you can see that visually the information is being displayed in a way that it makes it clear what's the connection between different statements. Now we have another case. Ayabatal misela. This is a new case. If the finder is going to lose money by taking time off for his work, so the din is he cannot say to the owner, give me back what I lost from work. Instead, he gets paid for doing a job that is easier. This din obviously is connected to this case. This is not the din for these cases. This din is for this case. Now we have a new case. Im yesham beidin. If there is a court, then the din is matne bifnei beidin. Go to the court and make a condition so that you will be able to collect the money that you lost from work. Okay, so now we connect it to this particular case. In the next case, im ein sham beidin bifnei mi'itne, if there is no court there where you can go and make the condition, then the din is shelo kodem. His property comes first. He does not have to lose money from his work and go return somebody else's property. So if we look now in the left side of the page, we can now see a flow chart. A flow chart is a way to visually display the information and to organize it so that it's nice and clear. So we have a title and we had 4 examples. 2 of them, the din is enzu aveda. That's the case where the animals are doing what's normal. The donkey is grazing, the cow is grazing, the din is enzu aveda. Then we had 2 other examples. A donkey with its gear upside down, or we had a cow that is running wild in the vineyard. Those 2 examples, the din is enzu aveda. This is lost. That's why the din is connected to these 2 cases. Then we had a new case. If the animal was returned once and it escaped, and multiple times it escapes, here's the din and here's the reason. The din is that you're obligated to return it, and this is the reason. The reason is connected to this din, which goes for this case. Then we had another case. What happens if the finder would lose money? So this is the din. The din is that he cannot demand to be paid back for what he lost. We had another case. What happens if there is a base din? Then the din is that he can make a condition there and make sure that he gets back what he loses from work. And then we had finally another case. What happens if there is no beit din there? Then the Mishnah told us the din is that he does not have to lose money. Instead, he's allowed to be concerned about his loss, and he doesn't have to lose money to save somebody else's property. So what we have done here is we took the Mishnah. We were able to divide it sentence by sentence using the skills that we have learned, how to find the case, how to find the reason, how to find the din. Once we do that, we divide it by clicking on this button. Then once we divided it, we did the second step, which was to label it. We use these different buttons. The ones that are most common are the mikre, the case, and also the din. And in this case, we had also a reason as well as a title. We labeled them to identify clearly what each sentence of the Mishnah is doing. And then we went ahead and we used the connect button in order to create this outline to organize the information visually so that we can understand it clearly, how the different cases in the Mishnah are listed and what the din for each case is. Now you can go ahead and save your work, and you click as save as, and you can click over here, for example, Mishnah number 9, and you can write, for